Hey everyone, tonight we're stepping into a place where survival has nothing to do with swords, shields, or roaring beasts, but everything to do with sweat, steam, and the unspoken rules of the crowd. A Roman bathhouse. The hook is simple. You probably won't survive this. You push open a heavy wooden door, and instantly a wall of moist heat slams against your chest, wrapping around you like a damp blanket fresh out of some giant oven. The air smells of oil, smoke, wet stone, and the faint tang of sour wine, a cocktail of scents that clings to your skin before you've even taken a step inside. The floor beneath your sandals is slick as if someone mopped it with olive oil, and you can already picture yourself as the next tragic entry in the "Oops, I fell in the steam room" scrolls. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And while you're at it, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now, because I want to know which corner of the world you're in as we wander through this haze together. Now, turn down the lights, turn on the fan to some soothing music, and let's get going tonight. You shuffle forward, squinting as mist curls across your eyelashes, and the soundscape closes in around you. Sandals squeaking against wet tiles, splashes echoing off marble walls, the scrape of bronze strigils across oiled backs, and the faint plucking of a lyre that somehow manages to cut through all the chaos. Voices drift through the fog, some fast and sharp in Latin, others heavy with laughter that needs no translation. You catch the glance of a man lounging by a column, his eyes sliding over you as though he's already decided you're in the wrong place, and suddenly the bathhouse feels less like a spa and more like a stage. Everyone here is watching, measuring, testing. Survival doesn't mean avoiding death. It means avoiding embarrassment, avoiding the look that says you're not tough enough, rich enough, or clever enough to belong. The heat presses down harder. With every step, rolling out of the walls, rising up through the floors, seeping in from hidden pipes that hiss and whisper like angry serpents under the stone. It's not the kind of warmth that comforts. It's the kind that makes you wonder if you're being slow cooked for dinner. And speaking of dinner, your brain can't help but note the ridiculous detail that in some places, people supposedly rubbed snail slime between the tiles to make them shine brighter, which might explain why your feet keep sliding like you're in a slapstick play. You grip the wall, only to have your palm glide down slick marble, leaving streaks of condensation behind. Graceful, right? If anyone was watching, and trust me, you've already given them their nightly entertainment. But the pressure isn't just physical, it's social. The bathhouse is Rome's version of social media. Loud, messy, impossible to escape. You don't just wash here. You network, gossip, brag, strike deals, and sometimes ruin reputations before the steam even clears. Imagine Emperor Hadrian himself, sprawled in a corner with attendants fanning him while he side-eyes every newcomer, quietly deciding which faces will rise and which will sink. You can practically feel that same gaze pressing on you now, even though you're just trying to figure out where to put your sandals without tripping. The trick is pacing yourself. If you dive headfirst into the hottest chamber too quickly, you'll pass out like some overeager tourist, and instead of statues and mosaics, your legacy will be whispers about the poor soul carried out half-conscious by staff. Historians still debate whether bathhouses were truly open to all, or whether invisible barriers of money, accent, or clothing kept elites separated from everyone else. What isn't debated is the atmosphere. Steam so dense it beads on your eyelashes, condensation dripping down painted frescoes, bronze pipes hissing, bodies gleaming with oil, and the constant low murmur of Rome itself, condensed into one sweaty echo chamber. You take another cautious step, heart thudding faster than you'd like to admit, and suddenly realize how vulnerable you feel. No armor, no weapons, just damp skin and the hope that you don't do anything too ridiculous. Every bead of sweat running down your back feels like a spotlight. Every cough or stumble like an announcement. And here's the secret nobody tells you. In a Roman bathhouse, the real test of survival isn't about enduring the heat or cold. It's about composure. Can you look relaxed while your brain screams? Can you smile while your body begs for air? Can you laugh off the sting of oil in your eyes before anyone notices? A man to your left bursts into laughter, slapping his friend on the back, and for a moment you wonder if it's about you. You chuckle quietly, pretending to be in on the joke, even though you have no clue what they said. That's survival to playing along, nodding at the right times, staying invisible by pretending you belong. And as the steam swirls higher and the floor tilts beneath your feet, you realize this isn't just a bathhouse. It's a maze of heat, noise, pride, and spectacle. And if you're not careful, you'll become the punchline of someone else's story. You stumble deeper into the haze, your skin already sticky with sweat, and then you catch sight of another archway, cool marble gleaming faintly through the fog like a doorway to salvation. Without much thought, you follow the crowd, and suddenly the temperature flips, icy air slams into your lungs, and your skin prickles as if you've been tossed into a snowstorm. Welcome to the frigidarium, the cold plunge, the place where Romans tested themselves not by lifting swords, but by pretending icy water was no worse than sipping watered wine. The pool stretches wide before you, shimmering under torchlight, its surface smooth as glass, until someone dives in and shatters it with a splash that echoes like thunder. A few men stand at the edge, trying to look philosophical as they argue about gladiators or taxes. But you can see their hesitation. They're just stalling, psyching themselves up before taking the plunge. You hover near the steps, caught in the same debate. Do you go slow and steady, or do you cannonball in like a reckless tourist? Either way, survival here means not shivering like a leaf in a storm. The first step is agony. Cold bites your toes, climbs your legs, wraps itself around your body like chains of ice. By the time you're submerged, your chest seizes up and every nerve screams that you've made a terrible decision. Your jaw clenches, teeth chatter, and your brain tries to convince you to scramble back onto the marble steps. But you don't, because you can feel the eyes of strangers on you, and nothing screams weakness louder than retreat. So you plant yourself in the freezing water and pretend you're fine, inhaling sharp breaths that taste like wet stone and iron. Historians still debate whether the frigidarium was meant as medical therapy to stimulate circulation, or simply as bravado, a way for men to flex their toughness in front of an audience. Either way, your goosebumps rise faster than rumors in the Senate, and you understand immediately that this isn't about health, it's about pride. And here's your odd detail. The water in some bathhouses wasn't the pristine mountain spring you'd like to imagine. It flowed through lead pipes, carrying not only cold refreshment, but a slow dose of poison that lingered in the bodies of Romans for generations. So while you're busy proving how tough you are, your body is also soaking up the empire's favorite toxin. Cozy thought, right? The atmosphere around you sharpens the echo of splashes against high walls, mist rolling low across the pool's surface, the occasional shriek when someone plunges in too fast. It feels less like a spa and more like an initiation ceremony, a test you can't fake, and you're not alone in this ritual. Across the centuries, people everywhere have chased the same icy thrill. You remember stories of Celtic warriors dunking themselves in rivers before battle to awaken their spirits, of Japanese samurai training in winter streams, of modern athletes plunging into ice baths, swearing it helps recovery, though historians of medicine still debate whether that's science or just masochism. You almost laugh, lips numb, because this obsession with cold seems universal. Humans across time joining hands in bad decisions. A man beside you ducks his head completely underwater, emerges gasping with hair slicked like a seal, and looks so proud you almost clap. You hold back, partly because your arms feel like marble statues, and partly because cheering would only draw attention. Instead, you steady your breathing, trying to copy his rhythm, telling yourself this is fine. You even attempt a joke under your breath. Oh yeah, it's basically bathwater. The man next to you shoots a side eye, unimpressed, but at least it distracts you from the pins and needles crawling across your skin. Somewhere in the foggy corners of the room, two men argue heatedly about the outcome of gladiator matches, their voices bouncing against the stone walls, and you realize that, even here, half-naked and trembling, politics and entertainment find a way to intrude. Survival isn't just keeping your body from freezing solid, it's keeping your composure, looking calm when you feel like screaming, laughing at the right moments, so no one sees you falter. You picture some senator back in the day, teeth chattering, like yours, negotiating alliances while pretending the icy water was invigorating. The thought makes you smirk despite yourself, because the bathhouse really was Rome's version of Twitter. Loud, messy, full of posturing, impossible to escape without someone noticing. Finally, when you can't feel your legs anymore, you drag yourself toward the steps, forcing your face into a look of relaxed dignity, even as your insides beg for warmth. The lesson is sharp but simple. If you can survive this cold without flinching, you can survive just about anything the bathhouse throws at you next. You haul yourself out of the frigidarium, every muscle stiff, your skin prickled raw, and before you can even breathe normally again, the tide of bodies pulls you toward another doorway, this one glowing faintly like the mouth of a furnace. The marble frame sweats with condensation, and as the door creaks open, a wall of steam gushes out, wrapping around you in suffocating waves. You step inside the caldarium, the hot chamber, and it feels like walking straight into the lungs of a volcano. The air is thick enough to drink, your chest heaves against it, and the stone floor radiates heat through your sandals until your toes curl. Voices in here are muffled, drowsy, drifting as if even gossip has been slowed by the weight of the heat. You glance around. Marble benches line the walls, and men sprawl out across them in gleaming heaps, skin shining as if they've been basted for roasting, eyes half closed as though they're meditating, though you can tell by the way their jaws tighten that it's more endurance than peace. You find a place to sit, careful not to drop down too fast, because the last thing you want is to yelp like a startled tourist when the hot stone sears your thighs. The torchlight flickers dimly, making the mist glow, and someone pours water onto heated tiles. Instantly, the room hisses like an angry dragon, the steam billowing out so thick you feel yourself dissolving into it. Historians still debate whether the caldarium was truly meant for health-clearing lungs, purging toxins, or whether it was just another spectacle of toughness, a way for people to compete silently over who could endure the longest without fainting. Either way, your skin feels like it's melting, sweat dripping down your temples, trickling into your eyes, stinging until you have to blink hard just to see. And here's the odd detail. Romans sometimes flavored the steam with herbs, thyme, rosemary, even lavender, so that the chamber smelled faintly like a kitchen. You can almost imagine yourself being slow cooked with seasoning, a human roast, soaking in a stew of sweat. Somewhere nearby, a man laughs, slapping his chest like he's conquered the heat itself, his skin red as a boiled lobster, while another looks moments away from collapsing, but forces a smile through gritted teeth. You realize the survival game here isn't about temperature at all. It's about dignity, about looking calm while your body begs for mercy. You can't help but think of stories from ancient Greece, where athletes sat in hot rooms before competitions to loosen their muscles, though historians still debate whether it helped or just made them dizzy. You picture a wrestler stumbling out of the steam, tripping over his own feet before even reaching the arena, and you chuckle under your breath, which earns you a suspicious glance from someone nearby who probably thinks you're delirious. But laughter helps, keeps you grounded, reminds you not to float away in this hazy, timeless soup. The longer you sit, the more details sharpen. The drip of condensation falling from the vaulted ceiling with a soft hiss as it hits the floor. The shuffle of feet adjusting on slick marble. The rise and fall of conversations that blur into one constant hum. Somewhere in the corner, a storyteller leans in close to his companions, whispering a tale about an emperor who once collapsed dramatically in the caldorium, attendants rushing with buckets of cold water, only for him to wake minutes later, grin, and brush it off with a casual, "Just testing you." You smirk, imagining the scene. The most powerful man in the world sprawled on hot stone like an overcooked fish, only to turn it into a joke. That's survival, too, never letting weakness stick to your name. Your own body pulses against the heat, and for a fleeting second, you wonder if this is what bread feels like inside an oven. A ridiculous thought, but it sticks, and you can't help but grin through the sweat. Around you, the Romans sit like statues, pretending it's easy, as if their lungs aren't burning and their heads aren't spinning. And you, caught in the haze with them, realize the caldarium isn't trying to kill you. It's teaching you patience, composure, and the art of endurance. You inhale another breath of soupy air, your chest heavy, your skin screaming, and tell yourself you'll last just a few more minutes, because in this bathhouse, every second you endure adds another invisible notch of status, another sign that you belong. That's how you survive the heat games. Just when you think you've survived the worst, the icy plunge and the volcanic steam, you hear it. A sharp metallic scrape, the kind of sound that makes your teeth ache, and you realize the next ordeal isn't about temperature at all. It's about the strigil. Imagine standing there, your skin slick with oil and sweat, glistening like you've just been marinated for roasting, when someone approaches holding what looks like a bent bronze spatula. No soap, no soft lather, no fluffy towel, just this curved blade dragged across your body to scrape away dirt, oil, and maybe half your pride. The first stroke shocks you, cold metal biting against overheated skin, leaving behind a streak of grime so visible it's both satisfying and humiliating. The room hums with the same soundscape, scrape, scrape, like a chorus of squeaky. Violin bows, and suddenly you understand why the ritual has survived for centuries. Historians still debate whether Romans did this for hygiene, to truly cleanse the body, or if it was more ritual theater, a public act of purification that said as much about social belonging as about health. Either way, you grit your teeth, pretending it doesn't sting, while someone methodically peels you like an orange. And here's the odd detail. Romans collected the sweat and oil scraped off bodies called strigmentum and sold it as medicine or beauty cream. Yes, you heard that right. Jars of bathhouse gunk peddled as miracle cures for headaches or wrinkle smoothers. You picture a merchant hawking authentic gladiator sweat on a street corner, and you almost laugh out loud, though the blade sliding down your arm pulls you back to reality. The sensation is relentless, scraping across your back, your shoulders, even behind your knees, places you'd rather keep private. But this is Rome. Privacy doesn't exist here. You try to play it cool, cracking a joke to the man next to you. Yes, I'm half a pound lighter already. He chuckles, and suddenly the sting feels less humiliating. Jokes become shields, little bits of armor in a place where everyone is stripped bare. You remember hearing about medieval bathhouses, where attendants used horsehair brushes to scrub people until their skin turned bright red, or Japanese Sento traditions, where friends and family still scrub each other's backs as a gesture of bonding. Across cultures, across centuries, humans share this obsession with scraping away what the body sheds, as if beneath the grime lies not just clean skin, but a truer version of ourselves. But in the Roman bathhouse, survival isn't about cleanliness, it's about composure. Somewhere across the room, a storyteller whispers of a famous general who once refused the strigil entirely, saying real warriors wore their sweat as proof of labor, while others whispered he just hated being touched. The tale lingers, reminding you how even small rituals carry political weight. To accept the scrape is to play along, to belong. To refuse it is to carve out a statement. You stand in the middle, gritting your teeth, deciding where you fall. Another scrape runs down your spine, and you jolt, but you mask it with a smirk, pretending it's nothing. The man holding the strigil nods, approving your resilience, and for a fleeting moment, you feel like you've passed some silent test. Still, the thought of that jar of recycled sweat on an apothecary's shelf makes your stomach churn. Remember, when I told you about crocodile poop sunscreen from Egypt? Compared to that, Remang sweat cream might actually sound like a step up, though you're not in a hurry to try either. The scraping continues, and with each pull you feel lighter, as if the bathhouse itself is stripping away more than dirt. It's stripping away comfort, privacy, even the illusion of control, until you're left raw and awake, every nerve singing. And maybe that's the real hook of the strigil. It isn't about cleansing your body. It's about testing your pride, about seeing if you can stand there exposed and still laugh, still nod, still smirk like none of this bothers you. That's the secret lesson. Survival here isn't about muscle or wit. It's about letting go, enduring the scrape, and walking away with your dignity intact, even if someone else now owns a jar of your sweat. You think the scraping ordeal has left you free, your skin tingling raw and gleaming like polished marble. But survival in this bathhouse isn't only about pain, it's about resisting temptation. And the next chamber proves it. You wander into the palestra courtyard, where the heat is replaced by lamplight and the murmur of feasting. Long tables are laden with figs split open to reveal their pink flesh, bowls of black and green olives glistening with oil, rough hunks of bread stacked like bricks, and pitchers of watered wine that glow ruby under the flames. It looks like paradise, but you already sense the trap. A man across from you slurps noisily at his cup, teeth stained purple as he grins wide, while another dips bread into olive oil, so heavily it drips down his arm in greasy rivulets. You hesitate, stomach rumbling, but you know better than to dive. In too eagerly, survival here isn't about indulgence, it's about pacing yourself. You pluck a fig, bite into it, sweetness bursting across your tongue, but there's the faint grit of dust still clinging to its skin. It's delicious and unclean all at once, the perfect symbol of Rome itself. You chew slowly, trying to look casual, but already your mind is calculating how much you can eat without sinking like a stone. The next time you step back into the pools, historians still debate whether this food was officially part of the ritual or if clever vendors simply inserted themselves into the bathhouse scene, knowing a captive market when they saw one. Either way, the smell of wine and olives makes restraint almost impossible. And here's the odd detail. Some bathhouses reportedly sold sizzling sausages right outside the caldarium, so you could sweat buckets in the steam and then instantly replace the lost water with fat and salt. Imagine staggering out glowing with wellness only to clog your arteries before reaching the exit. It's basically the Roman version of leaving the gym for fast food. You laugh at the absurdity, nearly choking on your fate, and cover it with a cough before anyone notices. The noise around you builds, laughter bubbling louder with every jug of wine passed down the table. Gossip spreads like wildfire. Someone boasts about a senator's mistress. Another groans about grain prices, and a bold voice claims the emperor himself once overindulged here, drinking so much he had to be carried out limp as a rag by embarrassed attendants. You picture the scene imperial dignity dripping like spilled wine, servants hauling their master by the armpits, while others politely looked away, and you can't help smirking. But indulgence has consequences beyond embarrassment. Your stomach grumbles again, caught between hunger and regret, as though it already knows too much food means sluggish limbs, too much wine means loose words. Survival here is knowing when to stop, when to set down the bread before appetite becomes ridicule. Across the centuries, the same mistake repeats itself. Medieval bathhouses turned into banquets where German nobles drank while soaking in tubs. Goblets refilled until the water itself seemed like spiced wine. Early modern travelers described Eastern baths, where trays of pastries transformed the steam into cafes. And by the 19th century, European spas had menus as indulgent as any banquet hall. Humanity never learned moderation, and here you are, trying. Not to repeat the error, or the figs call your name. A man nearby tries to juggle dates to impress his companions, and fails spectacularly, sticky fruit splattering across the marble, earning laughter from every corner. You chuckle along, but inside you're reminded again, this bathhouse is a stage, and indulgence is a performance as risky as the cold plunge or the scalding steam. Someone claims the figs here give strength equal to an army ration. Another swears olives sharpen the mind, and a third insists wine dulls the pain of the strigil. Historians still debate whether Romans truly believed these superstitions, or whether they were just excuses to indulge. But looking around, you suspect belief didn't matter. The ritual wasn't complete without temptation, without the choice. To resist or give in, you sip cautiously from a cup, watered wine curling into your stomach like a lazy cat, and tell yourself that moderation is the true secret of survival. Because here, in the heart of indulgence, the real danger isn't hunger. It's forgetting that every feast has a price, and every slip becomes a story whispered in the steam. You wipe your hands, brush the crumbs from your chest, and steel yourself for what lies ahead, because the bathhouse is far from finished testing you. You wipe the last crumbs from your lips, thinking you've finally mastered the balance between indulgence and restraint, but the bathhouse doesn't let you rest. As you step back into the misty corridors, the laughter of the feast fades and is replaced by something quieter, sharper, the low hum of whispers that curl like smoke through the steam. You don't even need to strain your ears to know what's happening. This is the part of the bathhouse where survival depends not on your stomach or your skin, but on your ability to listen without being caught listening. You take a seat on a warm bench, careful to look half drowsy, as if the food and heat have lulled you, but your ears are wide awake. To your left, two men lean close at the pool's edge, voices hushed as they drop names like dice in a gamble debts. Secret meetings, a senator's indiscretions. To your right, another pair mutters about grain shortages, their words rising and falling like the lap of water against tile. In the corner, someone chuckles about a general's mistress, while another lets slip the word poison with an almost casual shrug. Historians still debate whether the Roman baths were truly democratic, a place where rich and poor mingled without distinction, or whether subtle codes of clothing, accent, and gesture kept invisible walls between the classes. But no one disputes this. The bathhouse was political. Every laugh could be a barb, every murmur a plot, every handshake under the steam, a deal that might tilt the balance of power. You glance across the room, eyes half-lidded, and spot a cluster of men hunched close together, their hands gripping each other's arms, as though sealing something more than friendship. You can't hear the words, but the tension in their shoulders tells you this is no idle chatter. And then you remember the odd detail. Some bathhouses reportedly had hidden corridors built for emperors, secret passages that allowed the most powerful man in the world to slip away unseen if the gossip turned. Dangerous. Imagine Augustus himself sneaking barefoot through a dripping stone tunnel, toga clutched in his fist, just to avoid an ambush hidden in the steam. The picture almost makes you laugh power reduced to tiptoeing in the dark, but it also chills you, because here, stripped bare like everyone else, your only armor is composure. You lean back, letting your eyelids droop, and think about how this pattern stretched across centuries. In Ottoman hammams, women whispered secrets of marriages and rivalries, weaving alliances behind veils of steam. In Renaissance Italy, bathhouses became infamous as backdrops for love affairs and betrayals, places where walls absorbed more treachery than water. Even in the 19th century, American bathhouses gained reputations as scandal factories. Deals and scandals inked in sweat instead of parchment. The walls changed, but the human impulse remained. You shift slightly, and the marble beneath you hisses as condensation drips down onto the hot stone. A man across the pool cracks a joke about the wine being so watered down it could swim here, and you laugh softly, just enough to blend in. Humor becomes your shield again, a way of proving you belong, because nothing marks you as prey faster than silence in the middle of laughter. Still, the danger hums underneath. Somewhere, an argument about taxes sharpens into a mutter about rebellion, and you sense that even here, where everyone is half naked and dripping, the empire's weight presses down on every word. You picture Agrippina, mother of Nero, listening. In a bathhouse centuries ago, twisting idle whispers into weapons to use against senators. Whether the story is true or not, it lingers as a reminder. Survival here requires more than strong lungs or a high tolerance for wine. It requires instincts, sharper than any dagger, knowing when to nod, when to smirk, and when to pretend you're asleep. You exhale, letting the mist blur your vision, telling yourself that as long as you don't lean too close, don't laugh too loudly, don't betray your curiosity, you'll slip through unnoticed. But deep down you know the truth. In a place where every glance and giggle could spark a rumor, the greatest risk isn't slipping on wet marble, it's slipping with your tongue. Just when you think you've cracked the code, eaten just enough, laughed at the right moments, kept your tongue from slipping the bathhouse, throws you another curveball, one that hits not with heat or whispers, but with realization. You pass beneath an archway, and suddenly your eyes widen as if you're seeing the place for the first time. The mosaics glitter with leaping dolphins. Columns rise in shapes you recognize from Greek temples, and in the alcoves, small statues of Egyptian gods stare at you with inscrutable smiles. The hook lands sharp. This bathhouse isn't purely Roman at all. It's a quilt of borrowed customs stitched together with steam. You pause, dripping, blinking in disbelief, because survival here means more than enduring the rituals. It means learning to navigate a maze of cultures colliding under one roof. Historians still debate whether the Romans stole these practices outright or whether they adapted them with genuine admiration. But either way, the evidence surrounds you. The caldarium itself is straight from Greek gymnasia, where athletes once steamed before competitions. Only here, it's magnified into Roman grandeur. The oils that left your skin shining trace back to Egypt, where perfumes weren't just pleasant, but essential to surviving desert air, sometimes mixed with crushed lotus petals until wearers smelled more like marshes than flowers. Even the icy plunge of the frigidarium echoes Celtic warriors who hurled themselves into rivers before battle, swearing the shock forged their courage. Odd detail? Some Romans even wore tiny amulets of foreign gods into the baths, covering all divine bases just in case Jupiter or Mars wasn't on duty that day. You imagine a bather jingling with charms like a walking souvenir shop, hedging bets against bad luck. You smirk because it feels familiar people today still stitch together wellness routines, from yoga mats to Finnish saunas to herbal teas, pretending it's one seamless philosophy. The Romans just did it first, only with more marble and fewer hashtags. Around you, the cultural mashup hums like music. One man brags about Greek philosophers. Another praises Egyptian oils. A third insists Eastern engineers designed the pipes that pump warmth through the floors. You picture caravans trudging across deserts, ships docking in Roman ports, traders whispering secrets along with spices, all of it pouring into this place until the bathhouse became a marketplace of ideas as much as bodies. Across time, the pattern repeats. Ottoman hammams in North Africa and the Middle East borrow Roman arches. Japanese onsens echo the same obsession with heat and ritual. European spas of the 19th century trace their stiff etiquette to these steamy halls. You sit back, sweat sliding down your temple, and realize adaptability is the secret lesson. To cling too tightly to one tradition is to look provincial, barbarian, backward. To thrive, you must blend. Nod at the right gods, recognize the right. Sense and endure the rituals, whether they come from Greece, Egypt, or beyond. The trick is not purity, but flexibility. And here you are, dripping history, smelling faintly of rosemary and iron, carrying your pores the ghosts of a dozen civilizations. You laugh softly, remembering the roasted lamb aroma of the caldurium herbs, and think maybe survival is just letting yourself become a stew of influences, hoping no one notices if one ingredient doesn't quite fit. The bathhouse whispers its secret into your ear. Belonging isn't about being Raman enough. It's about being adaptable enough to blend into the steam. You stumble out of the last chamber, your body buzzing from heat, cold, oil, and wine, and the sudden breath of night air slams into you like the final test. The door creaks shut behind you, and for a moment, you just stand there blinking in the torchlight, as if you've walked from a fever dream into another world. The cool breeze feels unreal against your skin, sharp, almost painful, and the street outside hums with life. Merchants packing up wicker baskets at their stalls, children chasing each other barefoot down narrow alleys, a dog barking at nothing in particular. You feel stripped bare, not just of dirt, but of every layer you thought made you untouchable, as though everyone in the street can see you've been tested inside. You replay each trial, the icy grip of the frigidarium, the suffocating heat of the caldorium, the scrape of the strigil, the temptation of figs and wine, the daggers hidden in whispers, the strange mix of cultures folded into marble walls. You realize survival here was never about health alone. It was about learning composure, patience, the art of looking calm while your body or pride threatened to betray you. Historians still debate whether Roman baths genuinely prolonged life, or merely masked the toll of indulgence, whether they were centers of wellness or just theaters of distraction. But you know the truth in your bones. They trained you for more than steam. They trained you for the world outside. Your mind drifts to other ages. Medieval bathhouses where laughter was shadowed by the fear of disease. Ottoman hammams where women wove alliances under veils of mist. Japanese baths where ritual cleansing became a kind of spiritual armor. Even the spas of 19th century Europe, with their mineral waters and stiff etiquette, carried the same DNA, while in 20th century America, coin-operated massage chairs proved humanity never stops inventing clumsy ways to mix survival, leisure, and commerce. Odd details, sure, but it sticks in your mind, proof that the bathhouse never really left us. You walk slowly down the cobblestones, the night pressing close, and you realize the real lesson isn't toughness or purity, but flexibility. You learn to laugh at the scrape, to smirk at the gossip, to resist one fig too many, to hold your dignity even when your lungs burned like fire or your teeth chattered like dice in a cup. Survival is less about muscle and more about rhythm. Breathe, endure, choke, observe, adapt. You take another breath, steady and slow, and the torchlight blurs at the edges, your mind softening as though the bathhouse followed you outside, its mist now replaced by the haze of fatigue. And maybe that's the final truth. You don't ever leave the bathhouse. It lingers in your pores, in your posture, in the way you listen more carefully now to every murmur around you. Because survival isn't locked inside marble walls. Follows you into crowded streets, whispered rumors, sudden meals, unexpected plunges. The bathhouse was just training. The rest of life is the challenge waiting at the next corner. Now slow down. Let the steam fade from your mind. Let the noises of the Roman street dissolve into silence. Picture the last drops of water sliding down your skin, the torchlight softening. Into a warm haze, the cobblestones beneath your feet melting away into nothing. Your breath is steady now, long and heavy, your body sinking deeper into rest. The laughter, the whispers, the struggles, they all blur into the background until they're only a faint hum, then nothing at all. You're no longer standing in marble halls, no longer tested by fire or ice. You're floating in a quiet pool where the water cradles you gently, rocking you like the simplest lullaby. Let the warmth spread, let the stillness wrap around you, let the story dissolve into calm. Good night. End of script. Good night.